Okay, so a little over a year ago, my wife and I had just actually finished up creating some plans for a tiny home on wheels. And we were about to begin construction, and then my parents said, hey, instead of doing the tiny home on wheels, why don't you just build a multi-generational home on this piece of property? So they used to own that house over there, and on the back of the house was a separate lot. And on the lot, there was actually a pool kind of over by where that large pile of rocks is. Went the entire length right there. And the other thing that made building on this piece of property a little bit difficult is right here, you can barely see that path, but underneath that path is actually an irrigation canal. And so the irrigation canal company has a 10-foot setback. And then you can see the street is right there. So obviously can't build here. And because we're a corner lot, we have interesting setbacks. So right there, had to build 25 feet back. So it ends up with that pool, it made for a very, very small footprint. So we ended up deciding on building a 40 by 40 foot multi-generational home, and actually got the plans all drawn up, started the structural engineering process, took it into, so go back to me. So took it into the city and explained to the city, hey, this is what we want to do. And they looked at the plans and they said, there's 5 kitchens on those plans. I said, yeah, because it's a multi-generational home. And they said, you can't have 5 kitchens. It's against the code. So my mind started turning and I said, how about this? Can I have 2 really long kitchens? Because it's going to be hard for my wife and my mom to share a kitchen. It's going to be hard for my 2 adult kids and their families to share kitchens. So can we have 2 really long kitchens that have 2 stoves, 2 ovens, 2 fridges, 2 of everything? And they said, yes, you can do 2 really long kitchens. So back to the drawing board, scrapped the original plans that we paid for and that we'd drawn up, and ended up creating a rectangle on the home that you can actually now see the footprint of. But part of that meant that we had to tear out the pool. So that was sad. But one of the lessons that I learned in tearing out the pool is it's critical to have the right equipment. So I first tried to just jackhammer up the pool so that my excavator would be able to use this matraco to tear it out, but the pool was just too well built. So then ended up renting a mini X, and in about 8 seconds I was able to accomplish what it took me 8 hours. So that's definitely one of the lessons learned, is good idea to use the right tools. One of the other things that I've accomplished over the last year is there used to be a bunch of trees over there by the property line. And so we ended up taking out those trees. There also used to be a ton of pine trees. Actually there's 5 trees along this property line. And one of the reasons why we took out those trees is because, well, you can't see it right now because of the clouds. There's just an incredible view of Mount Timpanogos right there. And then over here, once again, you can't see the clouds, but there's an incredible view of the Cascade Mountains. So the trees needed to go. So I was able to pull out the trees, but was able to save all of the wood. And can't see it, but there's also a huge pile of mulch because it ended up chipping up all of the branches over there. One of the other things that you'll notice is where I'm standing on this massive pile of dirt. So the city has confirmed, the city inspector confirmed that I now hold the record for the most amount of, it's not really dirt, it's all rocks, but the biggest amount of rocks and dirt that's stored next to the sidewalk. And how I accomplished that was my son and I spent about 4 hours building a rock retaining wall, and that made it so that my excavator could pile a lot more of all of this rock. There's the difference. He was only able to pile that much before the retaining wall, but afterwards we ended up with a lot more that we were able to keep on. And the reason why that's critical is because I'm having to pay him to both dig it out and bring it back. And so by keeping more of the rock here on the property, I won't have to pay as much to have him bring it back. So the other thing that I've obviously been able to accomplish is, Oh, and just a little bit more about how we ended up doing the design. So my wife and I learned a lot doing the tiny home design process. And so one of the things that we learned is that everything needs to have multiple purposes. And so we tried to incorporate a lot of that into the design of the home. And down in the crawl space, you'll notice, so where all of those ICF blocks are, underneath that is actually the crawl space. So the crawl space is going to double as both a storage space, a mechanical space, and then it's also going to be our air conditioning unit in the summer, because the air that far below grade, so it's about 13 feet below grade, that stays pretty cool in the summer, so about 55 degrees. And then the makeup air that will go into it actually comes from the irrigation canal, and that air is about 60 degrees, and then I'll be able to do it in a way so that I'm not pulling in the humidity either. One of the other lessons that I learned was a friend said, hey, I've got some build deck 12-inch foam blocks. And so we ended up making a change underneath the garage. We're going to be using that build deck foam blocks, putting 4 inches of concrete on top of it, and then it creates kind of an I-beam with the concrete and the rebar, but it will give us a 16-foot tall room that is underneath the garage. So that's going to be pretty exciting. And then obviously the other thing that I've been able to accomplish is I stacked all of those blocks on my own. And when it came to concrete pour day, I did get some help. And so I had another video that I put together on some of the lessons learned from concrete pour day. Let's see, what else have I been able to accomplish? Yeah, that's about it for what I've been able to pull off, mostly on my own over the last year. And super excited. I have my corner blocks coming here on Monday or Tuesday, and then I'll be able to start stacking, be able to finish doing the rest of the backfill. And then yeah, I'll be able to finish building this 12,000 square foot, 48-foot tall, modern minimalist home. I'm super excited for when we get the rooftop deck on, because right now the views that you're seeing, this is just the second floor. So I don't know if you can see it, but off in the distance there's the mountains to the south. There's obviously all of these mountains to the east. There's the mountains to the north. And then to the west, there's actually a lake with some mountains on the other side. And I'm pretty sure once we get to the top of the 35 feet on that rooftop deck, I'll be able to see those mountains too. So super excited about this journey, this DIY crazy journey that I'm on. And so if you want to follow along, I'd be thrilled for you to subscribe. And then you can see, I try to post almost daily updates on some of the different things that I'm working on. And so if you have any questions, just drop them in the comment section below, and I'll talk to you the next time. Thanks.